Hello, and welcome to this CST2 bite-sized module. In this module, we will be going over an in-depth tutorial of the intervention planning and monitoring tool. This intervention planning and monitoring tool is a feature of the CST2 solution that allows you to track data and student progress all throughout every step of the intervention. So we will dig into how to download and use this tool, and then how you can use it to track the implementation fidelity of the intervention, as well as the student's response to intervention. So let's dig in. We are here in step 2 of the process. We're right here under using the CST2 tool, where you will download this tool as a Google Sheet. When you go to download the tool, it will ask you to make a copy. Just as a reminder, you're making a copy into your own Google Drive. We will not be able to see your student information once you download your copy. When you download your copy, it will populate like this. You'll see the instructions menu, an overview of the tool, key steps to supporting the functioning of the tool, which we'll go through in this video, as well as some important tips for troubleshooting. We'll be highlighting all of these pieces, but if you'd like to go back for some of these tips and tricks, know that this tab of the sheet is available for you. Once you download the tool, the first thing that you will need to do is go up here to the CST2 menu. When you go to CST2 menu, you'll hit Add a Student. This will add a page for your students so that each student going through an intervention will have their own separate tab where you can track information. Now, first things first, you'll need to authorize the tool in order to be able to allow all of the features of the tool to work. So you'll hit continue with the authorization. You'll select the account of your account that you want to be able to use the tool, and then you'll allow the intervention planning and monitoring tool to run some third-party content. Once you do that, now the sheet is set up for you. So you head back to the CST2 menu and you add a student again. Once you sit here and add a student, you're just collecting some demographic information in order to populate the tab. So here we'll just say test student. We'll pick a random grade, a random gender, and we will click through. So as you do that, you hit submit. You'll notice over here in the right, you'll see a little pop-up that tells you that the intervention tool is being created for this student. Now here you see it. You have your test student, and it is now populated here so that you can start to track and plan and monitor the intervention for the student. You'll see up here at the top, our test student already preloaded. Now, as we go through this, we're actually going to go through a sample that's already been inputted with information so that you can see exactly how this tool functions. So in step 2, what you are doing in this step is you are defining the need, you're analyzing why it exists, and you're selecting the appropriate intervention. So first and foremost, you're going to want to finish inputting all of the data for the demographics here. You can see here we want to write in who is supporting the intervention and what are the students' strengths. Now from step 1, where you collected all of your proactive detection data, if you'd like to drop any of those data results in here, you can certainly do that. So this can just be a copy and paste from your agenda from step 1 so that you can see the student scores in the intervention planning and monitoring tool. So now that we're in step 2, you are going to sit down with the people that know the student the most and really start to create the narrative or the why behind the need that is existing. So in this case, we've described what the behavior looked like. In essence, the student really struggles in groups and with staying emotionally regulated. So here we have looked under social skills, we've picked difficulty in groups, and we've also gone over here and looked at emotion regulation internalizing, and we've chosen social withdrawal. These are the 2 behaviors that we would like to decrease. Now, there can be some optional additional behaviors, but just know that for every behavior you want to decrease or increase, you also should be tracking progress monitoring of that data. And so the more behaviors you track, the more data tracking that you will need to do. Here we've said, well, if the student has difficulty in groups, we actually want to increase their ability to cooperate in groups. And they have that social withdrawal, we want the student to be able to increase their emotion regulation. So based off of this narrative, we're then going to decide where is this behavior occurring. Here we've noted it does occur in the classroom, and there's other environments in which the behavior occurs, the time of day, and who is present when the behavior is occurring. So now we've started really to create the story behind the student. I'm going to go back here into step 2 of the process, because here's where you're going to toggle back and forth to help support the tracking and really the selection of the intervention. So as you can see, we've gone through and we've defined the need. Now we are here with analyzing why the need exists. You will want to download this precision tool. So this precision tool is an opportunity for you to just learn more about the acquisition and performance paradigm, and also encourage you to collect additional information in order to be able to really select the most precise intervention and determine that root cause so that you can select the precise intervention. So we've outlined here in this tool an information gathering form that will help you track some interviews, observations, and even some rating scales for you to be able to collect as much information on the student so that when you are going through and selecting the root cause of the behavior, you have the information that you need in order to make the best decision. So you'll see here that narrative just really encourage you to go through this in order to be sure that you have the information you need in order to answer these questions. And this question is, we're determining at this point, does the student have an acquisition need? Meaning, does the student need to learn additional skills in order to be able to perform in their environment to meet the environmental demands? Or does the student have a performance need? That is, they have the skill already. They just need to be motivated, cued, prompted, reminded to be able to use the skill in the specific environments. So you'll use the information from that precision tool and you'll click these over to determine which need the student has. So in this case with our sample student, it is an acquisition need. So here we'll go back to that intervention planning and monitoring tool and we'll click on acquisition need for the root cause. Then we'll head back to step 2 of the process and we'll keep scrolling down in order to select the most precise intervention possible. So we've determined there's the acquisition need. Now you'll see the 4 different types of acquisition need that we have in our menu of interventions. It's at this point that again, you will read through each of these decision-making cards to determine which of these sounds the most like the student that you are discussing. From our sample student, that sample student sounds most like this card, which would be a recommended intervention of a coping small group. So this coping small group would then be the intervention that we want to work to plan around. So we'll head back to that intervention planning and monitoring tool and we'll hit coping. And once we select on coping, you'll see that step 3 is now populated in our tool. Now, reminder, you'll go back to the actual curriculum site and you can continue on to the next step. And this will help guide you through the planning process as well as help you fill in that intervention planning and monitoring form. So you'll head back to that and you'll see that each of the core components of a coping group are listed here. We filled in who's going to be responsible, when this group is going to start being delivered. Vitally important. We're planning out each and every step of that intervention. Now, you can watch additional videos in step 3, 4, and 5 to learn more about the details of these steps. Here, I'm just giving you an overview of how to use the tool to complement each step of the way. Now you'll notice here that when we selected the behaviors to decrease or the behaviors to increase, there were direct behavior rating scales that auto-populated here for us to be able to determine what baseline information are we going to collect, and then how are we going to progress monitor. So here we've decided that we want to collect some baseline information on social withdrawal and also emotion regulation. So once we open these, we actually made a copy specifically for the student and put that student's copy here. So then we can actually print this and start to use it and collect information over time for the student. So what this means is we're going to use these direct behavior ratings to go into the classroom and start to observe some baseline behavior prior to even starting the intervention. So when we do that, we'll have some data points. Now these data points from the direct behavior ratings can be inputted over here on the right. You'll see that this is our progress monitoring data. So here is when you start to take that direct behavior rating around social withdrawal and the direct behavior rating around emotional regulation, and you're taking some baseline. So here you can see our goal line is grayed out. We're not looking to set a goal at baseline. We're just going in and we're collecting. And here we've chosen frequency. How many times is that student socially withdrawing? In addition, how many times in a specific amount of time is that student emotionally dysregulated or regulated? So we've gone in and we've determined here social withdrawal for that interval of time that we're observing. We've noted how many times, and we've also noted how many times the student is emotionally regulated. So from there, we decided to create a goal. You can see it's starting to visualize over here on the right. Here's our baseline data. So we've determined that we actually want to decrease social withdrawal for the student down to 2 times in a specific time period. And our goal then for the student being emotionally regulated is we'd like to see them be emotionally regulated 8 times when we're in there observing a specific time frame. So based off of that, we start our intervention and then we go through and we start to progress monitor. So we use this tool maybe once a week to go in and just note what our direct behavior rating said. So we'd take that direct behavior rating in, we'd come back to the sheet and we'd start to track that data. And you can see here we've pre-populated it, and now we're seeing some visualization on how that student is responding to the intervention. One very important part of this tool is not only the response to intervention information, but also how we are doing with actually implementing the intervention. So based off of the intervention, what's the intervention fidelity? How are we doing delivering that support as the adults? So here you will see all of those core components of the intervention listed. We can go through here and click yes or no. A 0 is a no, a 1 is a yes, and it will start to populate the fidelity of us delivering the intervention for the student. So you can see here, this is pre-populated. We've got some fidelity scores. You can note that one of them is a little bit lower, but then if we go over here to the left, you can see individual coaching sessions. Oh yeah, there's only 2 coaching sessions, so that's about accurate. Now let's look at the next lower one. So it looks like we're only 70% with following the mentoring and following through with the family follow-up after the sessions. So those then would be opportunities for us to continue to improve. You can also see by week how we could improve as well, so that we can quickly provide some coaching and modeling and mentoring for the person that is delivering the intervention to make sure that we have the highest level of intervention fidelity as possible. So once we do that, we can come back in step 5 to a team meeting and really decide how the student responded. Did the student respond positively to the intervention? Did we deliver the intervention with sufficient fidelity? And then how are we going to proceed? So in this case, we decided to maintain the intervention because we are doing a pretty good job of delivering it, and the student is obviously responding. Maybe not as consistent as we want it to be, but we can continue the support and make sure that we can get that student the support that they need to continue to grow and generalize those skills. So there's an overview of our intervention planning and monitoring tool. It's Huge asset to the CST2 solution, a great way if you are not using your own student information system to track the fidelity of your intervention, the progress monitoring of the intervention, and also to just make sure that we've got everything mapped out and planned out so we can deliver the support with the highest amount of fidelity possible. Appreciate you tuning in for this overview of the intervention planning and monitoring tool. The more we build capacity in ourselves, the greater impact we have on student outcomes.